Welcome everyone. It is 5:15 on Monday, May 10th, 2021, and the Carroll City Council meeting is now in session. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is roll call, and everyone's here except Councilman Fletcher will probably be here shortly. The next item on our agenda is the introduction of our new employee, Rick Pugh, the Code Enforcement Officer. And Mike, make the introduction.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We have a new member of our staff. He's our Rick Pugh. He's our new Code Compliance Officer. Started 2 weeks ago. We didn't throw him into the first council meeting. We also had a tour, but Rick actually comes from Pathfinders out of Fort Dodge. It's a regional council of government, kind of similar to Region 12 here. Used to be called Midas Council of Government. Comes with some background in urban planning, but also does have experience in some limited rental inspections, but also excited with just some of his background in working through codes and kind of code development. And so we're pretty excited to have Rick on staff, and I don't know if you want to make any comments tonight.
I think you did a great job.
So, hope they haven't beat you up too bad, Rick. Thanks,
no, not at all.
Welcome aboard.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and that includes the approval of the minutes of the April 26th meeting. Approval of bills and claims. Under licenses and permits, we have a new cigarette permit, Wendell's Weapons LLC. We have Carroll County Softball Association, which is to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages at the adult slow pitch softball fields, along with a new Class B beer permit with outdoor service and Sunday sales. There's also a new special Class A beer permit with Sunday sales for the Tequila Los Comales. I think that's a Mexican restaurant. Is that the one that's going in over by
I guess.
the Dunkin' Donuts,
Yep.
isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
And finally, then we have a renewal of a Class E liquor license with Class B wine permit and a Class C beer permit and Sunday sales for Casey's General Store, number 3025. Under appointments to committees and commissions, and boards, we have the appointment by the council of Mary Bruner to the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Advisory Board for a 3-year term to expire on 5/31/24. The second is Deb Quant for Parks, Recreation and Cultural Advisory Board for a 3-year term to expire on 5/31/24. The next item is the firefighter resignation and appointment. And finally, the memorandum of understanding with the retired and senior volunteer program. Did everyone get the updated copy? Okay. Is there any discussion with regards to the consent agenda?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cots?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Space? Yes. The consent agenda is approved.
Thank you. At this time, if there's anyone on the internet, I would ask that you go ahead and undo your microphone. This is the oral requests and communications from the audience. You can have a seat, Debbie, if you want.
These two are okay?
Yeah. If there are no oral requests and communications from the audience, we will move to the next item, which is proclamation, 2021 National Bike Month and Bike to Work. The proclamation states, whereas May is National Bike Month and is celebrated coast to coast. Established in 1956, the National Bike Month is a chance to showcase the many benefits of cycling, encourage more citizens to give biking a try, and whereas bicycling is a feasible and fun way to get to work, bicycle commuting burns an average of 540 calories per hour and offers a clean, affordable, and healthy alternative to automobile commuting, and whereas Carroll's trail system, including the Sauk Rail Trail, attracts bicyclists each year, providing physical health benefits, economic health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And now, therefore, I, Eric P. Jensen, Mayor of the City of Carroll, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May as National Bike Month and Friday, March 21st, as Bike to Work Day, and encourage all road users to share the road safely with bicyclists. Thank you. Our next item under ordinances, we have none, which brings us to the resolutions. And this is the fiscal year 2021 health insurance. And I believe we have 3 items under that, which is the partially self-funded health insurance plan design, the policy 0317, health insurance reserves and medical insurance premium rates, and the fiscal year 2022 health insurance renewal. And Mike, you want to start with the partially self-funded insurance plan design?
Yeah, I'm going to take the first 2 items. And certainly if we have any questions while I review this, feel free to jump in at any time. We know that health insurance is it's a very important component of our recruitment and retention here at the city. So it is important that we really have a good health insurance plan, which I think we do. I think we're pretty competitive in that regard. We have been very fortunate over the years to have a very good and stable health insurance. Frankly, with a lot of guidance from Debbie Dean over the years, has really provided some great dividends for the city and our employees that pay for health insurance. So we're in a really good position. And I would even go as far to say is when I look at our peers, when I talk with our peer cities, what you'll find is in a lot of cases, our health insurance is substantially less for a very good value plan. So that we're in a very good position overall. With that said, we did receive notice from Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shields that our premiums will go up next year. And that's the premiums we pay to them by 8.34%. Now, in the health insurance market, that's not a huge increase, but when you're used to 0 or under 1% over a number of years, 8% tends to be a little bit of a larger increase than what we've seen in the past. So there's a few things that we'd like to propose regarding our plan design to help kind of bring down some of those costs that we have. And it's going to be more in the partially self-funded component of our plan that we have. Our plan design has really been unchanged since 2000 here at the city. So, I mean, we're going on 21 years of really making no changes. So with this, staff is proposing that we make 2 changes to our plan design. And this is going to affect our office copays and our pharmacy deductibles and copays. And we're going to phase that change in over 2 years. And really, once we get through this 2-year period, we will no longer fund those premiums or a portion of those costs, through our health reimbursement arrangement that we have here at the city. That's our partially self-funded part of our health plan. I would note that our overall deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums will remain unchanged. So our deductible of $500 individual, $1,000 family, and then our out-of-pocket $1,000 individual, $2,000 family, those remain unchanged. So we no change to the plan there. So the first change will occur, like I noted, if approved by council on July 1st of this year, and that will move our copays for doctor visits from $10 to $20 for primary care physician copays, and then $30 for specialty physician visits. So it's a $10 increase in our doctor visits, normal doctor visits, primary care physicians, and then $20 for the specialty office visits. Then our pharmacy deductible today, we have a $0 deductible. That'll increase to $50 under this proposal. And then our pharmacy copays for tier 1 drugs will remain unchanged. And then our tier 2 through 5 will actually increase by $10 per prescription under this change. Then on July 1st of 2022, we'll move those, we'll make adjustments again, and those will then come in line with the policy that we purchased through Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. So our primary care physicians will go up to $25, so that'll be an additional $5 increase. And then our specialty co-pays will go up to $50, and that'll be then a $20 increase again. And then our pharmacy deductible will move from $50 to $100 in that annual increase. And then the pharmacy co-pays, tier 1 through 3 will have no change, and then tier 4 and 5 drugs will have a $50 increase. Now, it is important to note that all of these co-pays and deductibles do count towards the maximum out of pocket. So the individuals that do have kind of chronic health issues and visit doctors often, they're probably likely hitting those out of pockets maximums today. So they really wouldn't have a change. It's going to be some of those individuals that are maybe a little bit lower utilizers of our health plan that would see an increase. So that is kind of the first item that we want you to consider this evening. Is there any questions on the health plan design change we're proposing this evening? The second component is...
I have just a quick question. The increase, is that after implementation of these or before implementation of these changes?
That's a good question. So the Blue Cross Blue Shield premium increase, that is an increase that is going to occur regardless.
Right.
The savings that we get from this is really partially self-funded. And so there is some savings in there that we'll realize. And, I didn't bring that sheet, but it's about...
It's probably close to 7,000.
Yeah. So it's not a substantial savings, but it is a savings nonetheless.
That counts.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Have you met with all the staff and getting any feedback on them on this whole thing?
So that's a good question. We did not meet with the entire employee group yet. We did bring in a kind of a subgroup. We did kind of identify an employee from each department and each building, and we did bring them in last week. And we did review this plan design change, and then we also reviewed the policy that I'll review here in a second. Overall, I don't think we got any negative feedback. I mean, obviously it's a change and people aren't happy with changes, but I think especially with the next part that I'm going to discuss, I think that is what allowed people to kind of embrace the changes.
So those people, did they go out and talk to all the rest of them?
That's what our hope was. And really this is the first time we brought that group in, really asked for, we want to be transparent with our employees. The other thing is I hope that we kind of work with them. They're going to be kind of our, we maybe formalize it later, but kind of the insurance committee I would see with employees throughout the city, because we know that health insurance is important to them. And as we make these changes and have these discussions, I think it's really important. I think the other component that's important is they are the driver of our health insurance costs. And so they have just as much buy-in in this as we do. So we really wanted them to be part of that discussion and realize it. I mean, I think one of the things is our pharmacy visits, for example, and our generic, we have a very high generic utilization, and that's a huge savings within the pharmacy area. We just want people to be good consumers. I think as we have those conversations, that can really help us long term, because again, we know we have some very low premium costs for health insurance. I mean, we're kind of the envy when you start saying, hey, this is what's going on. We get asked by cities, hey, would you give us information about all your benefits and wages? And inevitably they'll usually come back and say, is that really what your premiums are? Is that just what the employer's paying? No, this is the total cost. And they're really usually quite surprised by it. So we want to keep that going, and I think it's important to engage our employees as we do that.
I just want to make sure if we're going to okay something like this, that they have had feedback to you.
So we've given the opportunity for that. So the next component is kind of a medical insurance fund. And just as a reminder, our health insurance is funded in two parts. The first is a high deductible health plan that we purchased from Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. That has a very high annual deductible of $7,000 for a single, $14,000 for family, and then has a maximum out of pocket per year of $7,900 for individual and $18,500 for family. Then we have a partially self-funded plan that we kind of buy down those rates, and that buys it down to $500 deductible, $1,000 for family, and then the maximum out of pocket is $1,000 for individual, $2,000 for family. And that's the component that we have set up our medical insurance fund up a number of years ago. to really fund and be able to pay those premium on an ongoing basis. And so one of the questions is, as we know, our reserve fund has really been growing over the years and actually been doing really well. In fact, we ended March a little over $1 million in that reserve fund. Really, it's prompted a question of what should we do? What is our target for this reserve? And this is a policy, I'll be honest, that's come from a former life before I came here to Carroll. And it really, we were a fully self-insured program, so we have this partially self-funded. And we decided, talking with actuarials, we wanted a really conservative approach. And this is a very conservative policy on that. But it looks at three components. First, it sets out a run-out liability reserve. Second is a maximum liability reserve. And then the third component was setting up what it was called a rate stabilization fund. And the idea behind all those is to kind of protect your liabilities, but then in the long run, we wanted to have stable rates. And so under this policy, the way it's drafted currently, this would set a target reserve of $910,077.46. So at $1 million, we are far in excess of that. So there's a lot of questions that should be asked. I mean, first is, why would we suggest, like Debbie's going to come up here and suggest, is we do a rate increase and we're sitting on this reserve? And in part is the idea is, as we see future increases and we know we have a very low rate today, we want to be able to ensure that we have stable rates over the long term. So we want to take those rates as they happen, as they're suggested by the marketplace, and not keep them artificially low. Because the last thing you really want to happen is we have a real large increase and we've kept our rates artificially low. So we take the rates when needed. Now we're just going to be building a reserve up. And then the other thing is, why would we want to change these co-pays now? Well, the other idea is, long term, we want to be able to control those costs, and it's just one of those ways we can enjoy some savings now and into the future. And as we save money now, it really helps us in the long term. So under this, we want to keep those reserves. We don't want to just artificially keep our rates low or keep benefits high when we should be following what the market says. So the other question then is, if we have sufficient reserves, how do we keep the balance from growing now into the future? And what this policy really suggests is, to do that is we provide what's called premium holidays. And the idea behind that is we basically would not charge our employees and in the city for a premium in a particular month, and then we use the reserve to kind of buy it down. A single month of our health insurance premiums, if we use the COBRA rate, is $49,501.55. So the idea would be then we would then implement these premium holidays. When we exceed the reserves that are identified in the policy, we would then have a premium holiday, buy those rates down, and keep that reserve in check. We'd only do that when our reserves exceed, and then the premium holiday itself would not bring the reserve below what's set out in the policy. So at this point, we actually have about almost 2 months that we could do premium holidays. What a staff is suggesting at this point is we do a premium holiday this June, so next month. That way we can book it in this fiscal year. And then we would look to do another one once our reserves get to a point that would trigger, we'd be over that and not bring it below our reserve level, likely sometime towards the end of this calendar year. So I think in a nutshell, I guess if there's any questions on the policy itself.
So that premium holiday will not happen every year, possibly?
It may not happen every year. It's going to happen when our excess balance is warranted.
Okay.
And sometimes maybe we'd even look at just doing a half a month. But we would do it when our policy says it should trigger.
Okay.
And then ultimately that would be brought to the council, similar to the way we have it tonight. There'd be a resolution for you to consider that would then initiate that premium holiday.
Those appendix that he added on, it kind of gives you the algorithm of the thought process on how those changes would come about.
And then how the rates get set. And the idea is, we want to keep this stable and running over the long term. And this policy, I have seen really do that in other communities. So that is those first two items, there's a total of 3 resolutions. So if you want to, if you have any questions, or I guess I would recommend it.
At least go back and we'll get the one resolution, and we'll get those 2, and then get that finished, then we can go to the health insurance renewal after that. So we'll go back to the partially self-funded insurance plan, that resolution, which was, I believe was A. Are there any other questions for Mike with regards to the partially self-funded insurance plan design? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the plan design for the partially self-funded health insurance plan for July 1st, 2021 and July 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Haley,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bates,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Fleischner,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. And then the next item was policy 0317, the health insurance reserves and medical insurance premium rates. Was there any other discussion or any other questions for Mike with regards to that? If not, so you need 2 resolutions
There's 2
on this one.
resolutions.
Yep, in there. So I'll need a motion to approve the resolution approving policy 0317, health insurance reserves and medical insurance premium rates. So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Pat,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Bates, yes, Fleischner.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
And the final resolution underneath that one is, I need a motion to approve a resolution setting a premium holiday of June of 2021.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Haley,
Yes.
Fleischner,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Bates, yes, resolution is approved.
Thank you. And then finally, under that, number 3 was the fiscal year 2022 health insurance renewal plan. And I believe Debbie's here too. Laura, if you want to go ahead and start when you're ready.
I'll just give a little bit of introductory stuff on this. It's time for our health insurance renewal with Wellmark. And Wellmark has quoted us a blended rate increase of 8.34%. However, when we factor in the rates that we would charge, or the COBRA rates to the employees, and factor in that's partial self-funding, it increases for singles and families just slightly different depending on which coverage you request. But basically, we're asking council to approve. This does factor in, these rate increases in the COBRA rates does factor in the plan design change that you council just approved. That is factored into how we came up with these rates here. I don't know if council has a whole lot of questions. We're not changing the plan design that we're purchasing from Wellmark. We're just changing the partially self-funded plan design. And Debbie's here to answer questions if you guys have general questions about the health insurance industry and what's going on in the market and things like that.
So like, when I was reading this, it's basically just the fees are changing.
Yes, that's what we're asking
Yeah.
council approval, is to set the COBRA rates and to enter into another annual contract with Wellmark for the next fiscal year.
Correct.
COVID, I'm not quite sure where.
We like you right there.
I like to do that. Good.
I would mirror what Laura alluded to. It'd be nice to understand some of the changes and things coming at us in the future of the industry, please.
Well, we've had a higher claim year this year than we've had in the past. And when I say in the past, I guess I'm referring to the last handful of years anyway. But really, the city of Carroll has had a very positive 10-year period where 6 to 7 of those years, when you combine the premium rate at wellmark and the amount of funds needed for partial self-funding, 6 to 7 of those years have actually been a slight decrease from a cash flow perspective over the prior year, which is, I won't say it's unheard of, but it's close to unheard of. And Mike is right when he says when I share my rates with other counterparts, they think maybe I'm quoting something that's not correct or just part of the story. Our pharmacy usage has stepped up some. That's not exactly uncommon, but it's accounting for about 25% of the cost of our health plan spend. And that in general is more than it has been in years past. We've also had a higher number of high claimants this year. That's not necessarily indicative that next year will be the same, but I guess next year will determine if, in fact, that's really a new trend that we need to be aware of. But we do employee meetings shy of 2020. We do employee meetings every year. And one of the things that we really talk about is being a good consumer, like Mike mentioned. Take control of some of your healthcare decisions and needs and expenditures. Ask the right questions. Find out if you're having services performed at the place where it's the most cost efficient. Are you taking generic drugs? Are you talking with your providers about ways to utilize less costly approaches? So I think we have a very educated workforce. And I think that making these modifications in the copays will also have the effect of people being more cautious than maybe they were before. If it's $10, we want them to go as often as they need to go to the clinic, but at the same time, sometimes there's an overutilization of clinic visits when it's only $10. And so I think we're making good steps, methodical steps, conservative steps, to continue to support that strong drive of consumerism and protection of this health plan, because I believe all your employees want to protect this health plan. It's a really quality health plan, quality deductible levels, quality out of pocket. So I'd like to say there's 1 or 2 specific things I can say that will curb the spend, but that's quite honestly a global problem, not just here, but around the world. I would say we need to continue to educate on pharmacy and how expensive pharmacy can be, and to continue to look for lower cost alternatives where they exist. But even at 8% for insurance rates, or an approximate 7% for the whole plan, that's below trend.
But I know a policy for my business group, I'd take 8% all day
You
long.
take it all day long, right?
Yep.
I just did some budgeting for a larger concern this week, and we put 20% in. And they're probably double the population enrolled on your plan. Now, do I think that's aggressive? I do. And I felt like it was when we landed at that number. But I do understand the uncertainty here. It's better to be budgeted. In some respects, sometimes it's better to be over budgeted, obviously, than under budgeted. But Mike's done a fantastic job of analyzing the health insurance fund. This is as comprehensive as anything I've seen, especially on a partial self-funded basis. And so I feel like we are in a very unique and solid position to weather increases. And we will have more of these, and they may be higher. But we may also have years where we are very close to unchanged.
I think we've kind of been that way the last several years.
And one way that we
Been
can
pretty
continue to help with that, there was no benefit this year, but if you remember, we had a $3,000 deductible until 2017. Then we moved it to 5, and then last year we moved it to 7. There were no economics to move it higher this year. We clearly looked at that. But within a couple of years, there may be, and that will again allow us to benefit from lower rates because our fund balance is so strong and we can take on the additional risk.
I've seen some plans moving to $10,000 to $14,000 deductibles.
Absolutely.
And then now do you go get a catastrophic insurance plan to cover that, you know? So, you know, somehow you gotta cover that 14,000, you don't have it in reserve.
Exactly.
Right.
So as much as I don't want to see an 8% increase in fixed cost, because I don't, there's no room to argue with it from a due diligence perspective. So I would recommend that we move forward.
I think we should get this approved before they raise it.
I have a question about prescription. I just heard you say that 25% of the healthcare cost is drug
Ours.
of yours,
25%
right?
of-
Which surprised me. I'm in the business, I'm in pharmacy, but it surprised me because anywhere I look just now, it's nowhere close to that nationally. So what makes your cost of drugs so much higher, would you say?
Well, in Iowa, many of the plans have between 20 and 30% of their total claim cost.
Is that because of the age, the
Going
older
into this.
population, you think? Or
Well,
what makes it
older
different than the national?
It is larger than the nation, but remember, most of our plans are smaller plans. We have a much more diverse demographic. I mean, even just looking at the city, I want to say that our average age, I'm gonna have to go off memory, it's slightly lower than it was, but it's still a fairly high average age. And of course, the higher the average age, as we live and breathe, the higher the pharmaceutical usage. And the other thing is, we have so many more medications today that treat conditions as opposed to having a procedure to treat a condition. And so, you know, last week I was in a school district and I had a gentleman come up to me and say he just started his script, it's $15,000 a month.
I tell people, if you've seen it on TV, it's $5,000.
Absolutely, absolutely,
If it's being advertised, that's how much a month worth of it is.
absolutely.
So, and I get what you mean there, but it surprised me that yours would be so much skewed higher than the
Well,
national percentages, which aren't close to 25%, unless they are now.
Wellmark, I can just tell you, I see it across all size groups.
Mhm.
20 to 30%. And in 2019, it was either the third or fourth quarter in 2019 that our pharmacy spend approximated 10% of our spend that quarter. But it is regularly running in the 22 to 25 percentile range right now.
And then my question is, does that include chemotherapy for cancer chemotherapy treatments? Is that just saying what you get in the drugstore?
Episodically it can. I don't have any way of knowing if right now at the city of Carroll, if that is.
Well, I'm just talking in general. I don't mean Carroll
In
in
general, it
specific.
can. Sometimes
Right.
sometimes those apply to the medical plan deductible and not to
That's
the
what I wondered.
pharmaceutical spend.
Because they're so.
Yeah.
I had one person went to the doctor for that sort of thing, and he said, well, every month we're going to drive a Mercedes off a cliff. That's what your drugs are going to cost. So,
Well, all of these meds that really do impact life, you know, the Humiras, the Enrols, all of these make life better for so many people, but they do come at a very high price tag. Yeah.
thank you.
Are there any other questions for Debbie or Laura?
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us come tonight.
Thank you.
We missed not being here last year. We were
Yeah.
here, but Zoom doesn't quite,
The screen doesn't work and.
it worked fine, but it's just nice to see faces.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
With that, I'll look for a resolution to enter into a contract with Wellmark for the health insurance benefits with a deductible of $7,000 single, $14,000 family, and a pocket maximum to $7,900 single to $15,800 family, and setting the COBRA rates for Blue Access at $521.09 per month for a single plan, and $1,187.63 per month for family, And the Alliance Select at $613.32 per month for a single plan, and $1,480.80 per month for the family plan.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Fleshner,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Space. Yes. Resolution is approved.
Thank you. So flip it upside down. There it is. I'm going to take things just a little bit out of order, so Tom's here. Can you get that? You okay? We're going to go to D, the COVID-19 Trail Fund application for the Iowa Department of Transportation. And since Jack is absent, we'll go with Mike, please.
Thank you, members of the council and mayor. This is a request. The Iowa Transportation Commission has recently approved a one-time allocation of $5 million to fund, in part, one of the priorities is to fund projects that are rehabilitation of existing trail systems. And that is an oddity. That's not usually a project that is funded by the Iowa DOT through the grant-making project. Normally, they only fund new trail projects, so it is a good opportunity. Carroll County Conservation Board is applying for a $1 million COVID-19 grant for the repaving of the Saukville Trail. Now, grant applications are due May 17th. Now, while a financial match is not required, a financial commitment will make the application more competitive. So the recommendation is that we provide a $100,000 grant match for this. Now, Carroll County supervisors did approve a similar match. So there will be a total local match of $200,000. I'm talking with Chris Ricker at Region 12. He has said that level of match would make this a pretty competitive grant, and is what he is recommending that we do to make it such. Now, this project, if approved, would pave from Swan Lake. Now, Swan Lake itself is a fairly new resurfaced area. It is concrete, so it's not within the area there, but from Swan Lake to Highway 30 near Beer Inc. or Carroll Coolers. Now, the current trail is an 8-foot wide asphalt, and generally what will happen is it will install a 5-inch concrete surface over the existing surface. Now, there are some areas where the trail has deteriorated to a level where they'll remove the existing asphalt and replace with concrete, and then additionally under the bridge underpasses, they'll also replace and remove the asphalt and put in concrete so that they don't raise the level in those areas just for clearance reasons. But generally, the areas that the surface is in good shape, they will just resurface over that. So the request is for the mayor and council consider approval of a resolution supporting the Carroll Conservation Board COVID-19 Trail Fund grant application, provide a $100,000 local match for that project. That'd be happy to answer any questions the council mayor has this evening.
If we spend it, where we're going to pull that money.
The money would come out of our trail dollars that we set aside. So generally, it's local option sales tax and hotel dollars.
Have you heard what the total cost of this project will be?
It's a $1 million project is what we're anticipating, what we're going to be applying for. So $800,000 would be grant funds, and then $100,000 from Carroll County and $100,000 from the city of Carroll.
So the cost of the project is $1 million?
Correct.
I have to say, after we discussed this a while back, a couple people said they're happy we're expanding, but they also know that upkeep and maintenance is so important too. So there is enthusiasm for this.
How long ago was that park put in?
Oh,
Do you know,
What
Tom?
was that? I didn't hear.
When was the trail originally put in?
I've been a part of the trail since about 1990. I remember Carroll County was getting a grant for $250,000, and we had to raise locally like about $70,000. And Denny Carroll was active, and he got a hold of me and some other gentlemen in town. We had to raise that by the end of the year, so we raised $75,000. That was the start of it, and buying the land and then just getting it paved and asphalt. And the grant, we used to have crushed line from Maple River to the county line. And back in 2008, when that stimulus package came out, we got $1 million. Plus we had raised some private money. We got that, so it's like 1.3 or 4 million to maybe 1.5 to get that paved. So our trail is very good, but it does need work if you go from Swan Lake to Houlihan's, there's some dangerous spots there. And I haven't been over where Mike and them, but he said it needs some work. So Laverne, I can't tell you how far it's gonna take. When we talked about this a couple years ago, I think Jack got some newer prices and they've gone up a little bit. But if we can get this federal grant to come in, we don't get this opportunity very often. So if we could hit on $1 million or 800,000, it'd be a great plus to at least get us through Carroll, and then we'll see what we can as far as going west from Houlihan. So we're very lucky to have this trail. I'm going to tell you that there'd be a lot of communities, a lot of areas that would really love to have this trail. Talked to somebody from Ames this winter. He said he doesn't bike at home because he said, I got to go on a county road or I got to take my bike down to the Trestle Bridge or something, to Ankeny or something to get on it. So Randy, you ride a lot. This is a great trail. And I mean, we're improving it. They're trying to do the gravel roads in between, get those paved. They've done a couple of them. And so that'll make it even better when we get all those paved. But that's private money. And so.
Does this do the whole around Swan Lake or just up to a portion up to Swan Lake and then out?
It's from Swan Lake. The Swan Lake Trail is actually paved and it's concrete. It's in great shape.
That one's in good shape.
Yeah, that's done.
Okay.
That was done.
So it's just somewhere near the entrance there going
As
into
you
Swan
come
Lake.
up the hill out of the park and then
Yeah.
continue to the coolers,
Gotcha.
to that bridge.
The
That
reality is that the next phase that really needs to be looked at is from where this ends, if it's at Carroll Coolers,
Yeah.
to Maple River. That needs to be done also, but it's just really from a grant-making perspective, Chris Whitaker really recommended to stay away from the maximum request. He felt this would make it more competitive long-term, but we need to look at that section also in the long run. Once you get to Maple River, they've actually concreted from Maple River to Carnivan. And that's in great shape.
This won't be probably, when you talk about budget, I mean, this goes out, the earliest would be, I think, in the fall of 2022 that would get paid, so.
And when these don't come along very often, it's hard.
No, not
No.
from the, I mean,
Yeah.
we've worked hard to get state grants and all that, and it seems either Okoboji or Des Moines or more, or new trails
Mhm.
get it. And to get it resurfaced would be, and it does need, there's gonna be someone that comes down Rolling Hills Park from Rolling, that's pretty dangerous. There's some pretty good gaps there, so.
So Tom, if I'm reading this right, we're trying to get $1 million out of a $5 million statewide program.
Yeah, that's what Chris said. I
So
think,
there's gonna be a
I
lot of
just talked,
competition for this one.
Huh?
There'll be a lot of competition for that $5 million.
except the thing about it, this is, if they don't allow new trails, but if they do resurfacing, you don't know.
Okay.
They called us the last time, I guess, and said, you guys, back in 08 or 9 or 10, when this stimulus package came, they said, you guys are right for this project because you're a shovel-ready project. Now, I can't tell you all the stipulations, whether this is, but we're ready to go. I mean, this could go, if we got the money, we could go on it right away, Laverne, so.
This looks like it just goes towards the restoration of existing. It doesn't have anything to do with new trails.
That's what I'm saying, that's what's
You
nice
can't
about
do new
this.
trails, but there's actually a number of categories. New trail is one. It's just in the memo. We
Oh,
highlighted.
we don't have it, okay.
It's in the resolution though.
That's right. I think in the motion, yeah.
So I move to approve, support the Carroll County Conservation Board COVID-19 Trail Fund grant application in the amount of up to $100,000.
I'll second that.
That's what I was looking for, yeah. There's a motion and a second. there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's see, the next item is, we'll go back up to the fiscal year 2021, 2022 salary resolution. And Laura, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the salary resolution for fiscal '22 has been prepared in accordance with union contracts, which had negotiated a 3% increase to both the police union and the public works union. And then following past practice, the non-represented or the non-union positions were adjusted by the same percentage as well. We're looking tonight for council to approve that as presented. I would also note that the part-time salary ranges or pay ranges were adjusted as necessary, at least 25 cents per hour, and sometimes a little bit more, in order to hire new workers or retain some of our current employees so that they can come back after last season if they were seasonal workers. So we're looking for council to approve the salary resolution setting the pay ranges or top of pay for the city employees beginning July 1st of 2021.
The library assistants and library pages, we pay or does library pay that?
It does, those positions, they're technically considered city employees, and we do pay them. It's all processed through our same payroll process. It is charged to the library budget, part of their budget.
Okay. So do they make any recommendations from their perspective of what they can do their budget wise, or they just fall under whatever?
We do have a discussion with the library director.
Okay.
And I would say that, I'd also say that our fiscal '22 budget was prepared
With that in mind.
with this in mind, yes.
Okay.
So I move to approve the resolution setting top of pay or ranges of pay for city employees beginning July 1st, 2021.
There's a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. The next item is the revised city manager employment contract, and, oh, that's me. I get to do something. Before you is the employment contract with Mike, and I met with him on the 26th of April, and we completed his performance review, and he had a very excellent performance record, and appreciate everybody taking the time to fill those out, and the time that we can commit to Mike and keep him with us. Then on the 28th, I met with him, and we reviewed his current employment contract, and everything was in there except, I think then they added the insubordination or refusal to carry out the direction of a majority of the elected officials in attendance at a properly noticed public meeting of the city council. It was felt that probably should be added in there. With the discussion with Mike, he was fine with that. He didn't have any problem with that. So, are there any questions with regards to Mike's employment contract or the city manager position?
Well, it's nice to see you, Mr. Bruner.
Good to be here.
I didn't see anything that jumped out to me in here. Did you have any concerns?
I do not.
Thank you.
If there's no other discussion or questions, I will need a motion to approve the revised employment contract for the city manager position with Michael Poggeweaver.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. Let's see, we did COVID. The next item is reports. And under the first report is the police vehicle purchase. And Chief, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 3rd of May at 10 a.m., bids were due to replace a police vehicle that we have in our fleet. And bids were solicited for the Ford Police Interceptor and were received from New Way Ford of Coon Rapids, Champion Ford of Carroll, and Team Ford of Denison. In the memo, you can see the prices there. This is with a trade of I believe it's a 2016 Ford Interceptor utility. The request also had an option to purchase a second vehicle with no trade. The vehicle that would be getting replaced, it would then be given to the building department for their use in this upcoming year and into the future. That one is I believe it's a 2016 or 15 also. It was our captain's vehicle, so it's got a little bit lower mileage and not as much patrol time, so in much better shape than the one that's going to get traded off. So that one we'll elect to keep in the city and use in the building department if approved tonight. So the 3 bids that we received are all pretty competitive. The low bid was from Champion Ford for $28,580, and they honored the purchase price for a second vehicle of the $37,830, and that price is good until they are indicated by Ford that they can no longer get the 21 models, and they're going to let us know when that occurs. We're hoping to make it to delivery time. Deliveries keep getting pushed out. We may have to end up ordering a little bit earlier, but they're going to let us know before that deadline happens so we can get that purchase in if we need to get that second vehicle en route. The reason to not purchase both at the same time is that we have a local company that does all our installs of our aftermarket equipment. And if we have 2 vehicles out there at one time, it does 2 things. It puts a pretty big backlog on them. And second, it puts us a little tight with vehicles if we're down 2 at the same time, because they would essentially strip both cars at the same time and then trade them off and then outfit the new ones when they showed up. So it would keep us down a couple cars and then put them pretty far behind too. So this just makes it a little easier on both them and ourselves too.
These aren't electric.
These ones are not hybrid models. We have the 2 hybrids. They've both been running pretty well. The first one that we bought had some sensor issues, all been covered through warranty. The second one's only got about 5,000 to 7,000 miles on it. We haven't had any issues with that one yet. We're still just trying to test and make sure we don't come up with any issues. That's long-term problems. So instead of having an entire fleet of hybrid vehicles, if we have a problem, we want to make sure that we're ready for those. So the goal is that we have no problems with those, and we'll continue to replace those hybrid models. Performance-wise, they do really well. The gas mileage has increased quite a bit on those, and we're having good luck with them so far. But I would hate to buy 2 and then find out we have a major problem, and then we're stuck with a whole bunch of cars that we're having problems with. So until we get to that point where we're really comfortable with exchanging our fleet entirely over to the hybrid, I suggest we go with these. These are the EcoBoost models that Ford offers.
The Carroll Police on the site, is that decals or paint?
That is decals.
So we will take those decals off when you.
They get traded as is. So we
start driving.
We sell for the building department one. Yes, we'll strip that one down. The other one gets traded with the decals on them, and then the dealership strip them for us.
Okay.
And that's been past practice. That's been what we've done with all of our vehicles in the past. But the one that's going to the building department, I'm assuming they're going to want to put their own logo on it, and the company that does the installs will more than likely take those off for us, I would imagine. We did have an officer quite a few years ago that's retired now that used to take them off for us, and it's quite the job to do. If you're not doing it every day with that experience, I think it's quite the task.
So those aren't reusable. They're just put on new ones.
Yeah, they can't reuse them. Nope.
And I should note, we will basically through the building department, administrative department, pay for what would be the trade amount. So that'll come out of those budgets. And then the idea is the building department will use it primarily, but certainly as staff, if they're leaving city of Carroll to go to a conference like in Des Moines or somewhere else, we'll actually have them start taking those vehicles. We think that long term that we'll have the possibility of saving money. Now, it may not, that doesn't mean that we won't have staff that take their own vehicle to go to a conference, but that will be an option that will be available. We think that will be actually advantageous to the city.
And we'll point out one more thing too. The purchase of both vehicles is under the budget amount that we have budgeted for next fiscal year. We don't expect delivery to happen until after July 1. And it sounds like it may be a while after July 1 before we do see those vehicles. They've projected possibly 18 weeks on delivery from order. Pretty slow for fleets anyway.
Brad, do you know if we have to pay road use tax on the purchases, or are we exempt as a?
I believe we're exempt on the road use tax.
That or maybe you would know,
That's lower. I'm pretty sure that.
for example,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no tax. It's just the fee.
would make a little difference on the trade. Keeping it would cost us a little bit more. Wouldn't this way?
No, it should not.
Okay.
So if there's no other questions, my recommendation is to purchase the 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility as specified for $28,580, including a trade from Champion Ford. And then second, approve the purchase of 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility as specified for $37,830, also from Champion Ford, either at the time of delivery of the first vehicle or at the time before we find out our deadline to place orders on the 21 model.
Is there any other questions for Chief? So I will need two resolutions. The first one will be the resolution to purchase the 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility as specified for $28,580, including trade from Champion Ford.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cox,
Yes.
Bushner,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes,
Dirk,
Yes.
Base. Yes. Haley.
Yes.
Motion's approved.
And then I need a motion to approve for the purchase of one 2021 Ford Police Interceptor as specified for $37,830 from Champion Ford at the time of delivery of the first vehicle.
So moved.
second?
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion.
I have a question.
Yep.
The reason we're holding off on the order of the second unit is to space out for installation time and downtime, right?
Correct.
It's an additional vehicle.
So the equipment inside of the one that we will not be trading, we will be pulling it out to reuse in the new vehicle.
Gotcha.
So then when we pull that out, then that car's not of any use to us at that point, which puts us 2 down at that time.
I got you. Thank you, Chief.
No problem.
No other questions, sir.
So rather, we just have one car down at a time. Because that takes about a week and a half,
Up to 3.
up to 3. Oh,
They work on it not on a full-time basis. It's a few hours here and there whenever they get time, and then it's quite a bit cheaper than going to, there's a company that does a lot of them across the state. The company locally is quite a bit cheaper, plus we're able to take it there for repairs if we have any issues instead of driving to Baxter or Des Moines, wherever the other companies are at. So this works out really well for us.
so we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman,
Yes,
Dirk,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Bushner,
Yes.
Base. Yes. Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item under reports is to set a public hearing date for fiscal year 2020 and 2021 budget amendment number 2. And Laura, when you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as we all know that the budget is put together like many months before the end of the actual budget year. So we put this budget together, over a year ago? And now that we're nearing the end of the budgeted year, things have changed. And we have some types of expenditures we need to make sure we cover in our budgeted document for state purposes. There's not a whole lot in the budget or in this amendment, but some things that do need to be addressed. A lot of it is transferring monies from one fund to the other. So if we've been required by state code to accept the money or deposit the money in a special fund, then it can be spent out of another fund. So then the expenditure is tracked in a different fund. So then we would deposit it in the one fund that's required by law, and then we would transfer those funds to the other fund where we actually accounted for the expense. So for instance, the employee benefit fund. State law requires any taxes received that relate to employee benefit expenses, the actual funds themselves, those taxes have to be put into its own special fund. But we account for our expenditures for the employee benefits in each of the departments where the employees work. So a number of employees work out of the general fund, some work in the water, wastewater, road use tax. But then when at the end of the year, when we know those known costs, then we transfer those funds out of the employee benefit special revenue fund into either the general fund or the refuse tax fund. So this is to true up that so that we make sure the monies that we're collecting and there's that transfer out, that we're anticipating to receive a little bit more funds this year, largely due to some delinquent taxes that were not paid in the prior fiscal year that now we're collecting in this fiscal year. If you recall, with COVID last year, the state did put in place that delayed and you did not have to pay your taxes back in March of 2020. And then people, I can't remember exactly when the deadline was for that, but some people just forgot. And then when they paid in September, the treasurer tried to catch them and was like, hey, wait a minute, do you recall that you didn't pay back in March? So now some of those taxes that were due back in March 2020 got paid in this fiscal year of 21. So a lot of this has to do with transfers of the monies from one fund to another. I would say one of the biggest expense items actually relates to the water tower improvement project. We had the funds budgeted to be spent in fiscal 20. The project wasn't quite complete as of June of 20. And so some of the project did complete or get funds paid out of our fiscal 21. So this is to show that we're spending the money in fiscal 21. Does anybody have, and then I guess one final comment I would make is all these expenditures all this that's being presented in this budget amendment are items that were identified and are part of our re-estimated amounts for fiscal 21 when we prepared our fiscal 22 budget. So staff is well aware of the items that has gone. Are there any questions about any particular item? Tonight is to set the public hearing for the next council meeting. So notice in the paper will get published by this Friday to be in accordance with state code requirements.
Any other questions for Laura? If not, I will look for a motion to set Monday, May 24th, 2021 as the date for a public hearing for the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment number 2.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base? Yes. Fleishner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. I trust everyone's read the committee reports. I have no comments this evening other than get out and enjoy some sunshine today. It's nice. Any comments from the council?
Yeah, a while back I got the opportunity to go to a water main break. It was a little wet and cold, but I saved it for a couple hours just to see him work. And then when I got done, I asked the superintendent there, I said, do you have enough equipment to make sure you can do every scenario that you have? And he said, yeah, there's not a problem. So it's good to hear that.
They've had a few. We had that one downtown. That was big.
Yeah. This was out by McDonald's and they had to leave the pressure, like at least 20 pounds of pressure, so they didn't have to shut down McDonald's.
Gotcha.
And that's what really made it messy.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that myself and Mr. Kogi Weaver attended a meeting last week held by some local citizens. And it was a nice meeting. There were a lot of very good questions that were put to us. We weren't necessarily there for questions, but we did field some very good questions and had some good engaged people. We were looking to get people out to run for council as there are some seats coming available. There's, I'd say maybe 20, 25 people that were there. It was a good event. It was nice to see people engaged and interested.
Very good. Anything over there? Oh, great. Any comments from the city manager?
None this evening. Thank you.
Seeing that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and a second. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleishner?
Yes.
Base? Yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.